Welcome to Healing Money Talks. My name is Emma Lucy Wall, and I invite you, as I always do, to put your phone on airplane mode, sit down, make yourself a cup of tea, find a comfortable place to sit, relax, and listen deeply, because you never know what you might hear. My very special guest today is Cécile Masson. Cécile and I have recently met, and we have feeling like we have quite a strong connection. So Cécile has been an independent consultant in the Netherlands for 25 years, having lived and worked in various European countries until then. Since 2013, she's been a senior associate of Pluribus, a boutique inclusion consultancy, and has been involved in various projects and also as an executive coach. She coaches political and business executives and specialises in feminine and generative leadership. In 2004, she co-created a sharing circle for female mayors and older women across political parties that lasted 3 years. And she co-initiated projects to strengthen the position of female victims of domestic violence, and over the years has held various board member functions. As a published author, Cécile is a polyglot weaver with a creative mind that facilitates open dialogue and co-creation. Her book is called Rose, Letters of Love to Life. She enjoys sharing her knowledge and experience and equally loves learning from others. She has a passion for everything that lives, art and culture. Cécile grew up in Zurich, Switzerland, and she now lives with her partner in the Netherlands, and she is the happy mother of 2 grown-up children. Cécile, thank you so much for joining me and welcome.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Emma.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you. And I really would love to talk to you about Rose and how you see her, where she came from, where she's been, where she's going, and how you see her sort of entwining with your work in the world.
Entwining with my work. Well, Rose, Letters of Love to Life is really a book that I wanted to write to celebrate life, to really enjoy the moment and also sometimes be in silence and just be present. So the whole book is inviting the readers to slow down really and to get somehow access also to their sensing. This is what my intention was. And for that, I created a character called Rose. And because of the slowing down, I created her a little elder, like 84, because at that age, we start to really slow down if you're lucky to be alive and to we have look back on our lives. So it's really in that logic that I started to write. And the book is about how you as a person, but mainly in this case as a woman, allow yourself to sense and allow yourself to follow the intuitions that you sometimes get, but also to admit that it's there. Because, the history as we know it has been quite dominant by men.
Mhm.
And the rose is an invitation really for women to step up again into the light and dare to actually share what certain words, what certain acts do with them. And
Mhm.
not individually, but collectively. So that is what Rose is about in one instance. So it's the reconnection with inner self. The other side is also the connection with the outside world, because our inner biology is also reflected in the outer biology in the environment where we live in. And as we see now the environment suffering, I also sense that many women are suffering and out of balance because the amount of mechanic speed that is developing just now in this time is high and is not always respectful for the nurturing aspects that people who have access to the feminine energy really appreciate.
Mhm.
So it's not so necessarily a book that is only for women, but it's really a book that I've written also for men, because in the book there are obviously also man characters that would like to celebrate more the nurturing aspect of life, how you care for the environment, how you care for yourself, but also how you care for everything that is alive, really, because it's a miracle that we are here. And that's what Rose is about, is to celebrate the miracle of life.
Mhm. It is a miracle, and you've touched on some really beautiful things there. The connection and the collaboration and the community that so for me defines feminine energy. It's very much about how the flow and how we work together and how we support one another, and coming out of this old paradigm that was so noisy, and so yeah, each man, woman for himself or herself. And I know you've done some work. You've brought Rose into your working life, I believe, and you're wanting to do that more. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I use Rose sometimes to, to just read a chapter and then a whole dialogue evolves. And
Mhm.
there was one particular one where actually a friend of mine, Maya van Langendonk, read from the book, where we were holding a circle of women in the south, in Valencia in Spain. And we thought, okay, that's a nice starter of the day, but it went into something much bigger. First a dialogue, and then really some deep dive of personal development for some.
Mhm.
So it's taking a couple of those nuggets out of the book that can really help shape also sessions, and start as a, some good conversations, or what I call, essential conversations to have amongst women.
Mhm.
And one of the participants also said that, because, or readers, I must say, of the book also said that the relationship with her mother improved after reading Rose, because she, yeah, she noticed that her perception of history, of what her mother and the generation of her mother and grandmother had to fight for with regards to rights,
Mhm.
like the right for vote, and the right for study, and the right, all those rights, um, that she took for granted, because that's where we were born into. um, the appreciation changed, and she started to ask questions. And so it's Rose is an invitation to be more curious towards the elder people, to the
Nice.
elder, also to be more appreciative of the young energy and the wisdom that we sense in the youngsters that are born today.
Mhm.
When I have the pleasure to be with, children, youngsters from in their early 20s, I'm amazed of some of the wisdom they carry in them naturally. They
Yes.
bring another energy with them, which is not the energy that I would know from my grandfather, for instance. But it's an energy of sharing. It's an energy of co-creation.
Mhm.
And if I look, for instance, from a point of view of gender equality, the young engineers with whom I worked, they said, I'm struggling actually to see how I can fit in private life and professional career ambitions, because I want to see my children grow up.
Mm.
I don't want to be the one cutting the roast on a Sunday that nobody knows,
Yeah.
because I'm always working. So the youngsters are themselves creating a new way of bringing balance into work and life relationships as well. And I think Rose is an invitation for that. And in that sense, letters of love to life, because letters is really about the head. It's about the creations we have, the ability to create. Love is obviously the heart energy, and where we connect very openly, if we want it or not. We are always there, transparent to others.
Yeah.
And life is every life force that you, as a Kundalini coach, know as well, comes from the deep earth, and where we can access going through our pelvic bowl, as you call it, and up into the Kundalini energy that is really celebrating life.
Mm.
So it's about all of that. It's about yeah, it's about all of that.
I love what you say about the younger generation. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day who despairs of the planet. He gets very upset, and so and I said, just because I have three young daughters, young adults, as you do, children, daughters. I think, they are onto it. They are conscious of what the impact of humanity has been on the planet, and we may not get to see in our lifetime the full expression of the healing of the planet, but it's happening. There are so many corners of healing that are going on, and I think we need to just come together wherever we can and to celebrate and to grow that. One of our teacher, Sarah McCrum, talks about what you appreciate appreciates. And so the more we recognize that that stuff is happening and don't go into this place of despair. Um, I, we had talked about whether or not you ought to read from the book, and the bits that you've read to me, I'm waiting. I'm waiting, viewers, on my copy. It hasn't arrived yet, but I have. Cecile has shared the first 20 pages of the book with me, and they are indescribably beautiful, actually.
Mm.
So it does feel like a good moment. Does it? Does it feel like a good moment to you to read a little bit?
Yes, I could read something. As we just talked about the environment, I think I'd like to just read a small paragraph on water, and you're holding a glass of
I'm
water.
holding water.
Mm. Okay. Access to water is not a human right because it has been given from a human being to another, bottled or not. No, it is our human right because it's simply the essence of our makeup. We are asked to maintain and build relationships emphatically, slowing, taking the time, as we are equally part of the blue planet. If we continue to ruin our body with fast food or burn our earth with acid, collectively we follow people that are blind to the very cycles that also direct their lives. Just take the cycle of water. It takes time to go full circle, just as it takes time to build relationships. So, yes, Chris, when you say, in the words of George Bernard Shaw, that we should be aware of false knowledge, I will go even further. Knowledge that is more and more fragmented is deadly for our cultures. Most people are not being taught at school how interconnected everything is, outside of our own existence, but just as much inside our own body. They are not told that we are ourselves an ecosystem.
And they're not, are they? Education feels to me to be such a very flawed thing at the moment, and I think that's going to change. I think this COVID thing has just opened up this big space across the planet for us to reassess. People talk about resets, but within that reset is, okay, how do we think again? How can we change this? What can we do? Um, which I guess brings me on to what you're doing. So what are you doing at the moment in the world? I know you've got something really wonderful coming up.
So what I do is, as you said, I used to work mainly with political leaders. At the moment, I've just created a circle together with two political leaders, one from Switzerland, one from the Netherlands, that is called the Bridging Circle, where we are going in 4 sessions to try and assess how the pandemic has affected women in particular,
Mm-hmm.
and how mainly political women should really step up and make a point, because they're really, really still having to prove themselves within a political setting that is very masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So in this report, we are going to show some facts, and how it affects them. And I designed the sessions, and I'm holding space for that circle to happen. So that's one. But I'm really trying to bring positive energy. I'm not so much in the space. I'm not a therapist. I'm not looking at what is painful. I'm trying to create new possibilities and open the mind and the heart to create together the life we are wanting to live, but also new opportunities for the generations to come. So that's one thing. The other thing is, as you read as well, is I work as a diversity inclusion facilitator with Isabelle Pujol, who is the CEO and a very dear friend to me,
Mhm.
with Danielle Douve here in Amsterdam, who is a wonderful coach and a very, very open-hearted spirit, uh, great crystal clear heart. We organize feminine leadership retreats, 1 days and also 4 days, and we do that together with Maya van Longendonk. So every month we have a free call. The next one will be on the 11th, on the 9th of April,
Mhm.
where we, just give a taste of what it is to be involved with the feminine leadership program that we facilitate, which is called Coming Into Your Own. And next to that, obviously, I'm a creator, so I'm creating new things. And the really exciting thing is, what I'm creating now as well is based on the title of my book, Rose Letters of Love to Life, is a feminine leadership program called Letters of Love to Life, where I help women to really, really be honest and connect them with their inner self and their outer self, to create their letter of love to life. And it's been amazing. I've facilitated this journey already, and it's incredible because some people think conceptually, a letter, you have to write it and you have to make, and the whole idea is it can be anything. It could be, could be a business plan, but it could also be just finding back balance inside by doing breathing exercises. And one of the participants wanted to actually do some weaving. So she shared all her knowledge. It was beautiful to see all the knowledge of the wool and the material and how you actually, dye the wool and how you weave it and the different structures. So Letters of Love to Life is basically an invite to create your own love declaration to life, and be strongly aware of how every single moment, every single day, you can contribute to that celebration, or you can completely get stuck and say, "Oh, life is a hell."
Yeah.
For most of us here, it shouldn't be a hell.
No.
For nobody, it should be a hell. And that awareness of being healthy, just starting there, that the people who have a healthy body,
Mhm.
appreciate it,
Yeah.
because it's not a given. Not everybody has a healthy body, and not everybody has the capacity, the chance to grow old.
Mhm.
So we just, before we started this interview, we talked about, wrinkles and stuff. But yeah, let's celebrate those wrinkles. Let's celebrate the white hair, because it's there that we can say, "Hey, I've lived, and I've lived fully."
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think it's in those terms that I think Rose Letters of Love to Life was written,
Mhm.
to really appreciate life for the gift it is.
Yeah. And it really does feel like that that sort of wise woman energy, the women elders and the men who hold that feminine energy, because we all have masculine and feminine energy in us. And there's in no way am I ever pushing men out. I'm pushing some of the masculine energy out, because I think some of the masculine energy has been very destructive. But just inviting in that flow between us all. We also, before I start all of these conversations, we connect. We have a little meditation where we connect our energetic fields to one another and to everybody who's listening to this conversation, because we are all interconnected energetically through space and time. And I love that you talk about the forward looking, because that's the trajectory at the moment, isn't it? We've spent a lot of time grinding over old history and being really quite tethered to, particularly I think in Europe, we do like our history and we do like to to roll it over and over again and grind the gears. But the mistakes were made, and the important thing in any mistakes is learning from them.
Yes. Yeah, I think in that sense, Europe is relatively conservative.
Mm.
I can't talk about other continents, but what I sense from some of the, for instance, in the fashion industry, there are some African designers that are really, really creative minds. They are stepping up and taking, taking this the space now, and I celebrate that diversity as well. So it's good. It's good that young people, because they have the chance to travel, also see that, hey, they're human beings on the other side of the planet. They are not just some aliens from some kind of bush, but
Yeah.
they have the same kind of basic needs that we have here, and it's really, really important to acknowledge that as well, um, and especially in the field of international, what is happening is, it's important to celebrate first of all,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's where our values come into as well. Inclusiveness comes into, transparency comes into,
Yes.
and basic respect for meeting another human being
Mm-hmm.
in whatever shape, in whatever form, in whatever size. It doesn't matter. It is a human being.
Absolutely. And I think you are so right about how the young people are holding that energy
Yes.
beautifully. Even with the gender fluidity and with Black Lives Matter and all of those things that are really live in the zeitgeist at the moment, where people are saying no more prejudice, no more making judgments about people. Like you say, we're all at the core of us, we all share the same essence. We're all from the same source ultimately.
Yeah. And there is some, obviously, there needs to be some healing happening,
Of course.
but what the pandemic has really brought to the light is that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, and yet it's also bringing to the light where there's this imbalance in how we organize, um, and also how we value the different sectors in the Western society. When I think about the enormous work that all the caregivers have put into helping people when they were ill, the double amount of work of education that the teachers in this country, in Europe in general, in any country, teaching from home and holding, 7 8 hours of on front of the computer, a class together, it's tough. And I find that the value, also financially, for that kind of skill
Mm-hmm.
is sometimes underestimated, because they are building the future. They
Yeah.
are saving lives,
Mm,
and
absolutely.
that should be valued
Yeah.
accordingly. Teachers have an important role in education, because as a mother or as a parent, you can't be everything. There's a role of motherhood or of parenthood or fatherhood, and there's a role to go to a teacher.
Yeah.
And that's fresh energy coming from that.
Yeah.
So I
And
think,
maybe this thing will give the opportunity for, we did touch briefly on education kind of changing a little bit, because a lot of what is being asked of teachers is a bit old paradigm, and maybe it's time that we were teaching new things and bringing more consciousness and more stillness into education.
yes, there are movements going in that direction, at least here in the Netherlands. There is more, mindfulness practice also at schools, in certain pioneering schools, is happening.
Yeah.
And the other skill is as well, it's both. It's on one side that inwards movement that Rose is really inviting to, and on the other side, building skills that are part of the way our generations have shaped, and that's mainly computer also.
Yeah.
So the skills that are being built in schools or being taught at schools are not necessarily what the business life needs.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and there also there is that gap that
Yeah.
somehow we need to address, without going into the extreme of letting the computer, which is a machine created by humans, take over
Yeah.
the force of life itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is us.
It's we're in sort of dangerous territory at the moment, aren't we? And almost being, I observe my 15-year-old sometimes who's flicking through TikTok. I said to her the other day, how long does each one of those videos last? Between 10 and 60 seconds, she tells me. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's happened to your capacity for concentration? And that's where I think we need to bring meditation into the education system. And we need to just bring in that stillness. And also something that's really struck me recently is when everybody's working from home, this sort of disconnect that lots of people have from their work.
Mm.
Um, and as people are working from home, I heard somebody the other day say, "I'm homing, I'm homing from work. I'm not working from home. I'm homing from work." And Jeff Vanderkloot, who's one of the speakers on the summit, he said on a retreat I went to a while back, he said, any business that is not bringing love and coming from the heart in the next 10 years is going to go under. And I suddenly saw that connection. And I thought, when we're in our homes, which is our place of love, if we're bringing something that we're actually at odds with and we dislike, even hate, that's not sustainable.
Exactly.
So that feels another part. We are going to, as we're working more from home, we are going to be bringing love more into our homes, which I think is hugely optimistic and positive.
Exactly. It's a very positive force indeed. And it's so true what you're saying, because when we talk about sustainability, we often talk about environment. But
Yes.
let's talk about our own sustainability, and
Mm,
then the generative sustainability, which is always having that access. As a Kundalini yoga teacher, you know how it is to regenerate. And that is something, these are the skills that now should be really taught and learned and appreciated as well. And yeah, I think that's why I appreciate so much working with Pluribus as well, because um, yeah, they've just offering this kind of sessions now is to be the personal sustainability, and Daniela and Maya have done an excellent job a couple of weeks ago. So it's beautiful to watch that this is coming into business now as well,
yeah,
and also held.
yeah.
So I think, small things, small practices like slowing down before you start talking, taking deep breaths before you actually answer,
Mhm.
listen actively instead of just listening and in your head you're preparing the next answer already.
Yeah.
That is a completely different presence that
Yes.
you can experience then. Yeah.
And I know we're coming towards the end, but I know that there is something, your workshops, Rose is
Yeah.
coming to a workshop talking of love in the home and working from home and things that are available. Tell us about the Rose workshops that are coming up.
Yes, the Letters of Love to Love Life is a series of 5 sessions, for the time being specifically designed for women, but I hope at some point to also facilitate it for men. And we work in the next session coming up with a small group. We like 6 people,
Mhm.
because that allows to do that silencing, that deep dive, to really reconnect with self and reconnect with all our sensing as well. So that starts on the 22nd of April, and the details are all visible on the site. More details about my book as well can be.
Well, there'll be links. There are links with this video. When you're watching this video, you're going to see links to Cecile's website. We haven't ironed out the exact details, but there may even be links straight into the workshop. We'll see what we come up with at the
Yeah,
end of this call.
wonderful.
But that starts on the 22nd, and that's five sessions, five Thursdays.
Questions.
But they're not consecutive, are they? They're a little bit
The first 3 are consecutive to
mm,
really get going, and
mm,
then there is one session after 2 weeks and another one after 2 weeks.
beautiful.
And it's 5 because 5 is really the number that can help to, you know,
Yeah,
bring from a strong 4 that we are really been into in the last couple of decennias, go into the 5. That is the force of unfolding potential.
beautiful. And that's in the evening in Netherlands time.
Yes, it will be at 7:30 in the evening in the Central European time.
Fantastic.
and the sessions last between 2 and 2.5 hours,
Wow.
depending on how the audience is and what is needed for the individual participants as well.
Beautiful. Well, I'm very excited because I'm going to be on it.
Oh, great. I look forward to welcome you there, and I'm really happy about being in this podcast as well, Emma. Thanks so much.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been so lovely getting to know you. And we know, Cecile and I know that our relationship is just at the very beginning. We've got work to do. And we're going to enjoy watching that unfolding.
Thanks
So
so much.
thank you for your beautiful presence as ever. Um, and we will speak again soon.
Thank you so much, Emma.